Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome again to another video from Biblical Conversations Facebook page and YouTube channel. And today I am still going to be dealing with Nids, but there's a certain aspect of Nids that persons are saying can't work. And I just want to show you just how that might actually work. And it is the area of anonymous information being stored in Nids, right? So how could a database have anonymous information? And I just want to show you just how that aspect of it could actually work. Okay? So just sit back and watch a bit. It might take you to school somehow. Okay, so I'll use these diagrams to show you how a database works. When you see this diagram, this is how a database would look in essence, right? So a database is made up of columns and rows that have the data. So you have a column where you would see customer ID, name, and phone number. And you have a row where you see vertical with the like Peter Brown's name and the phone number and then the number that is beside Peter Brown's name. So this is how a database is structured and how it would appear, right? So we have, this is just another diagram that shows you a bit more clearly. You can look at the different arrows and see. So the column goes vertical, up, down, just like a column in your house, right? So the column is vertical and the row is going horizontally. So that's what the yellow represents. So this is a row, this is a column, and this is how a database is made up. A database is made up of a number of tables, database tables, with their own columns and rows. Now, importantly, this part here where it says customer ID, this is the identification part of it because the database does not know the name and the number and so forth. Database is just an inanimate device or table or whatever made to just store the information. So the database does not know what the different kind of information are. Just the person reading it will look at it and see it, right? But all that the database has is just the data. So the phone number, the name, but the customer ID section where you see the key written above here, that is a key part of it. That's how people can get to the different information in the data. So this is how people can get to the different information in the database by using the key. Because the only way that the computer will actually know where the data is and know whose data it is by going to the key. So when something, if just like with the, I was telling you about the having the mark of the beast with the little chip in your hand that has the ID number of the table, right? And it just, all it will do is that the ID number, it will scan the ID number and then match it to this part of the database and pull up the row that is identified by the ID number. So that's how it will actually work. But as I'm talking about the fact that you can have anonymous data in the table, if now this table is a very small table, but for the needs, I believe it would be probably that database would be made up of hundreds of tables or a lot of tables and a lot of rows and a lot of columns. with the different information, right? So you would have this if your anonymous information was stored in the database where your name is. So when the system pulls up this record for Peter Brown, if Peter Brown record is pulled up and it has the anonymous information in Peter Brown's record in this table, it would bring it up. So it wouldn't be anonymous in that case. However, how it could be anonymous is if a specific table is made to just keep the different anonymous information with just an ID like 1, 2, 3, and the anonymous information is kept in that table, then you would not be able to match it to a table with the name, like how we have name in this one. So it can be anonymous if the anonymous information is kept in a separate database table or separate database. So the information that should be anonymous can actually be anonymous if it is done that way, where information is kept in a separate database table. So when it pulled up, it wouldn't pull up the name of it and so on. And if that table is not connected to this table, so it can remain anonymous if the database table, like this table, is not connected to the table that contains the anonymous information. And when you pull up information on Peter Brown, it will not be linked to the information that is to be anonymous. So a table or the database can actually have anonymous information in it if it is saved in a separate and different table and it is not connected to the table that contains the name and the other unique information for the individual. So as I'm trying to explain that it can be kept in a database and still be anonymous, right? So it actually can work. Or you may even work in a sense where the data is kept. So just like it can work in that it's kept and the name section of the database is not kept. So the information will just be there and there is no name. So there's no connection with the particular individual. Additionally, the ID number will be different from the ID kept in the table with the name, right? So if these are different, basically, if the person's name and ID would be different from the IDs used in this database, then it will not be able to be identified. So it can be anonymous. So I just wanted to say that you can have anonymous information in a database where this particular table here, this table, this database table would have no connection to the other table if that is maintained, because in order for the data to be anonymous in a database, there has to be some amount of management in the storing of the data that should be anonymous. So if it's stored and it is well managed, it can be anonymous. So I just wanted to show you guys that. And hopefully I did not bore you too much with too much information, but it can work. But we'll ask the Honorable Prime Minister to tell us, or him or one of his technical staff to tell us how exactly they would maintain the anonymous data anonymous.